I ran into Anthony here at VidCon, and I've got him in a corner, literally in a corner. And while I've got him here, I have some questions that I'm going to ask him, and maybe it'll help me build my YouTube channel.
All right, shoot.
All right, Anthony. Tell me, like, when you started out in the very beginning, did you have many channels or names?
No, I actually started out with a channel that I'm not even going to plug because it's everything's been privated on it. But it was basically just me sitting in my mom's basement talking to the camera, which was crazy because at the time I had like a space blanket that I had stapled up behind me that I spoke in front of.
Okay.
And like just thinking about those memories, like I don't know if she knew what I was doing down there. I'm pretty sure that she thought that I had just turned the basement into like my love dungeon or something because I had a water bed down there. But it was, you know what? The community back then, though the community now is great. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers who says that it used to be better. No, it's great now. It was great then, just different and smaller.
And did you make any friends, like, while you were on?
You know, I did and I didn't. I've been doing YouTube so on again, off again throughout the years. A lot of the people who, you know, I did things with, at that point, it was so much time has passed and I haven't contacted them, and they never knew my real name, which is Anthony Smith.
Right.
For them to even remember me, sometimes I'll run into somebody and they do, but very rarely. For instance, and I don't say this because it just happened, but my outro on YouTube was actually sung by Christina Grimmie. And she
really?
She just recently, for those of you who don't know, a tragedy befell her. And when I got that news, like I had to take almost an entire day. I mean, of course, I moved through life, but the entire day my thoughts were just like, oh my God, like I had not kept up with her. I didn't know she was still doing YouTube. Like, and the name, until I heard it and until I saw the picture, it was just so bizarre.
Yeah, that was a tragic loss. All of us heard about it, and, you know, we were all moved. And sadly, of course, she's no longer with us, but at least she gave you something to remember her by, as she did for millions of people, not just you. So obviously, you've been on a long time, and you just did this for fun. I assume you were young when you started.
Oh yeah, God, I was. Let's see, if I was then that means that Sorry, I gotta go back here. That was 2006, 7-ish, like March of 2006, I think. Going forward, and
so, like, how old were you back then?
Oh God, I was like 20.
Wow. So obviously you're a little older now.
I'm 30 now. So
oh my goodness, 30 now. Well, that's amazing. So, you know, you're stuck with YouTube, but clearly you didn't make a living off this. So you had a life.
So yes, you know, I balanced for a while, which is why I was on again, off again. You know, I don't want to tell my entire life story.
No, but I mean,
I moved several times. My interests shifted, but I kept getting called back to just the social nature of the platform.
Is that why you changed your names on your who you were screen named by?
Yes and no. Part of it was a persona shift in the way that I presented myself, and part of it was because I had started new channels, and one channel had nothing to do with the next. So, for instance, my gaming name, which is public and out there, was Spitfire25565. And the gag there, that the joke, is that anyone who set up a Minecraft server knows that the default port for Minecraft is 25565. So for Minecraft people, it's a lot easier to remember. Because I couldn't get Spitfire because it was taken already.
Okay, so moving forward, when did you actually go to work for freedom? What was your...
I didn't officially work for freedom until June 28th of 2 years ago. Actually, my second anniversary is coming up here in a few days.
Yes, it's right on us.
But I had been working alongside George and with George with
Oh, you met George way before then?
So the first time I met George was actually during his TGN days, but I didn't, like, it wasn't a frequent thing until NETV came along, and I started kind of messaging him going, here are some games that aren't in, the NETV dashboard, and then we started that dialogue.
Now, NETV was his first company?
No. George has had many companies over the years.
Well, was it like the first time you met him, he was running NETV?
The first time I met him, he was running TGN.
TGN, wow. Okay, so he's come a long way, but you've come a long way. So when you went to work for him, by the time you did that, what was your goal? What did you want to do to help others or to help yourself or help George?
I came to realize that I could, continue doing YouTube and continue trying to turn that into a full-time job for myself, which I was actually, with the gaming thing, I was on my way to doing. I don't normally talk numbers, but in a round sense, I was approaching about $1,000 USD per month on my gaming channel when I finally realized that rather than doing this myself, why don't I, and that was just AdSense. That wasn't, brand deals. That wasn't, that was just AdSense. That wasn't considering, the people who were, sending me products, et cetera, et cetera. So it was at that time that I realized, you know what? I can do this alone, or I can do this in a way that's going to scale and be meaningful to more people.
Right.
And so George announced that he was looking for people to open up sub-networks or networks powered by Freedom. And so I sent him a business plan, and he accepted, and so from there I worked alongside George.
I see.
For about 6 months until June of 2014. And he just got me on a Skype call one day, and it was like, he said, so we're profitable now, and I want to hire you. I'm like, me?
Yeah, did that come as a shock, really?
Okay, so it did a little bit, because the network itself, it was not quite profitable yet. I was spending slightly more than I was taking in by giving things to our partners,
right,
in operational costs and things like that. So,
and did you also do like giveaways on your channels where you gave things away?
I've never been a big fan of giveaways, and here's why. Giveaways are a great way to get traffic temporarily, unless you can convert it. When you give people lasting value, they stick around. Versus short-term, I want something for free.
So a refillable Starbucks card is worth more than a stuffed animal.
Advice on how to always get a 10% discount is much more valuable than a single cup of Starbucks now. How about that?
I fully agree with you there. I would rather have that advice. And after this video interview, we will go into that advice. In the meantime, I want to just ask you one more question. I know now that you've moved to the Philippines.
Yes.
And I want to ask you that, how is that in terms that Americans could understand? I mean, was it all shock for you? Was it?
So, in my case, not so much. My case is a little bit interesting in that, not to go into the gory details, but right before I made the move, my, at the time, wife, my now ex-wife, and I parted ways. And, there's definitely, I don't want to say a grieving process, but there's definitely a coping process involved with that. So the change of location, the change of venue, new scenery, new people, that really did help me move on.
So you just dove from your, 9-to-5 life into... You dove into the Philippines.
Yes, basically I went from my day job being insurance. I was a licensed insurance agent in the state of North Carolina, writing millions of dollars worth of premium every year. And if I'm being honest, making more than I'm making now.
I'll bet.
By many folds. But that doesn't really matter because I'm so much more fulfilled now. But yes, I went from that 9 to 5 and then coming home and working another, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, sleeping almost none. I went from that to diving directly into Freedom and putting that same instead of 9 hours a day, it's that same like 9 plus 6, 7, 8, 9 more.
Wow.
And it's actually a lot to cope with. Like my current girlfriend, who I am hoping is watching this. Love you, Francesca. Hold on, wait a minute. So this F that I wear around my neck isn't for freedom. It's actually for Francesca.
Oh, how nice.
True story.
How
Anyways,
nice.
So she is very like open and loving, and like she understands, the amount of time that I spend working. She may not exactly understand what I do or how I do it or whatever, but she's supportive, and that's all anyone can ever ask.
Well, and that's great. But of course, I have one question.
Sure.
If you got 10 years that you have spanned on YouTube, and I'm going to ask you one question, put a little thought into this, because I think every YouTuber is going to want to know. Over the last 10 years, when you look back, do you have any regrets about YouTube?
I regret not doing it more, posting more. I regret not doing more earlier.
I see.
And it's often, the advice is often given, be consistent. And that's good advice, but no one ever really defines what consistency is.
Right.
Consistency can be tons of things. Consistency can mean posting on a schedule. It can mean making sure that each video it feels like a cohesive part of everything else you've done. But when you're first starting out, or when you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do, the best advice is to just post, get feedback, and just go forward. Never ever convince yourself that it's a bad idea to post something unless it's crazy controversial. Like at that point, I personally would never make a video talking about a political candidate unless it were like a news story. Like when we were doing Rehash, I covered a few things because Donald Trump was entering the race, and at the time at least, it looked like a publicity stunt.
Right.
So I mean, we did a little bit of coverage there, but that was a little bit different than just commentary on the subject.
Well, I have one thing I want to say. I've watched your shows. I've even gone backwards and watched some shows you did, and I have to say you need to do more shows. I don't know how much free time you have. I don't know who you're going to do them with, but you're really, really entertaining when you're on your own. One of my favorite ones I dug out, and I dug this out a long time ago, was you were playing a redneck, a Southern American, Southeastern redneck, and climbing. Yeah, but this one was really good because you were into it. You were crawling down the hall. You were getting in the refrigerator.
Yeah, that was on my gaming channel. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, please don't go look up that video. But I'll explain it a little bit. So the idea was, okay, first it was on my gaming channel, and occasionally I did do like vloggy or skit type things on that channel, basically to keep myself fulfilled. It may not have been an audience favorite, but it was something that I needed to do to get ideas out, which is okay. Like, we talk about consistency, and I was saying one of the things with consistency is uploading the same kinds of content all the time. It's okay to break brand and go off message occasionally, as long as you're not turning your audience away. And that's kind of what I was doing while also fulfilling myself creatively.
Did you live in the Southeast? Is that why you were turning?
I did. I lived in North Carolina.
So you were turning your neighbors away as well. Actually,
I find that most Southerners have a really good sense of humor about this kind of stuff.
Well, they do. And I want to say one more thing. There's another person that I know who does that. He's called Weird Al, and he doesn't parody your how you look or how you sound. He parodies life. And
Weird Al, actually, back in my early days in Freedom, I actually used to wear Weird Al shirts when I was on camera.
Oh no!
I've since outgrown those. In fact, if I'm being honest, I was past outgrown on them then. But yeah, I mean, like I am a big fan of Al's.
Really?
Yes, like I've been backstage.
I didn't know any of this.
I went out to Orange County, California, to see the Weird Al Experience. A really great guy, and he's the kind of guy who remembers your name.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Like I have no idea how he does it. A lot of people I interact with, I can't do that with, and I deal with thousands of less people than he does.
Probably
So
hundreds
how
of
he does it, I
thousands
have
of
no
less
idea.
people. Yeah, I don't understand. I'm not good with names. I remember personalities. That's what I remember. Well, this has been a wonderful interview, and I appreciate you sitting down with me. I've taken up so much of your time, but you can see this later on my channel. It's Dealer4519 on YouTube, and I wish you all the best, and I hope we see each other again soon.
Can I do my sign off?
Yes, absolutely.
Till next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all those things that make us love our jobs. Also, be awesome to yourself and amazing to each other.